I dealt with a lot of shame and guilt in my life, and instead of addressing things, I would just kind of retreat. And I think I took that same kind of mentality towards my relationship with God too, where when I would mess up or I'd feel shameful about something, instead of going to God, I would kind of run away, and it kind of led to kind of a state of apathy for me for a while there too.
My life before Restore was a lot of fear and guilt and shame over who I was, what path I had chosen. And it kind of manifested itself more in my insecurity in who I was, in a huge, insane desire to please others. And in my spiritual life, I think it really manifested itself with kind of forcing distance between me and God. Not because I was apathetic, but because I was really afraid of disappointing, and I felt guilt over who I was and ashamed of the person that I had allowed myself to become, and was afraid of what he might think or what might happen if I allowed him closer.
Just seeing God's story and just seeing how the fall, and everyone has these common struggles, and it wasn't just me that had these issues. And there was something freeing about even knowing that I was going to have those struggles and mistakes and mess up, that he still loved me. And so just knowing that kind of freed me up to kind of move past some of those as we worked through Restore.
Throughout this whole process, nothing was these deep concepts that I didn't know before, but I had so many aha moments of just how simple God's love is for me, and how that simple love really changed who I was. He doesn't see me with all the fear and the guilt and the shame that I have. What he sees is Christ. And Christ is the furthest from guilt-ridden or shame-filled that you can get. And that's who I am in God's eyes. And so when I see distance between me and God, that distance is not of his creating. That distance is of my own creating. And that's first and foremost sin that I have to confess and then reframe my perspective. But it also just limits the power of him in my life.
It helped me to move past just like a checklist where I've got to do this, this, and this to get closer to God, and realize that it's all about a relationship, and he just calls us into a relationship with him. And if we're doing that, then the checklists don't matter. All that stuff kind of comes naturally. He
really showed me that his Spirit is my gift. And the Spirit really spoke to my soul in ways that it hadn't in a long time. And it was done in such a quiet and forgiving and peaceful way. And it actually created a youth-like desire and excitement about pursuing him further that I haven't had in a long time, because I constrained it within what I thought I should be doing, or the legalistic checklist that I needed in my life to make that relationship be what I thought it was supposed to be. And realizing that all he asks us to do is love him, and it is that simple, was huge for me.
I could definitely tell a big difference in our marriage. It gave us just a new way to communicate with new terminology and things, and a way to kind of get on the same page. It also helped us realize in areas that we may struggle, and that kind of changes how you approach an issue or a conversation. Just helped us to really connect and grow closer to each other. As we learn about our struggles and what we have issues with, it helps me to love Keli better, as I know, things that she may struggle with, and the same could be said, of her to me.
I think one of the biggest blessings of doing Restore was doing it with Matt, and being able to not hear about what was happening in the other room and what he was learning and growing, and then me doing my own journey, and then coming back together and seeing how they were totally separate journeys, and yet there was so much power in us talking through them and kind of figuring out that God was still pursuing both of us individually, but he was also pursuing us in our marriage and as a couple too. I usually justified if something was going on, I would just say, I'm letting it go. And I thought I was doing that to protect him from my bad attitude or whatever else. But in reality, what I learned is I'm doing it to protect myself. And God really showed me that and kind of changed the way I looked at that, and asked me to reach out to him in those situations. And we've had more good conversations and more hard conversations. But I think through it all, the calling of marriage is about growing together towards a unified goal in Christ. And that gives us a whole new dialogue, Restore gave us a whole new perspective on what that means, and it's been fun.